I think a good example is it's like we're a bus driver and there's a bunch of rowdy kids in the back yelling things at us. We're the one in the driver's seat. We take control, but
Yeah.
if a kid is saying, I gotta vomit, I might let them off.
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
Oh, snappers. Impulse.
Perfect intro.
We got him. We got Etho on the show, and usually we start everything off with you saying, let's not assume everybody knows who you are. In this case, we can actually safely assume everybody knows who Etho is.
You're gonna make him blush.
But Etho, I want to say thank you, man. Thanks for being on our show today, buddy.
It is great to be here.
He's such a nice guy. But let's do it. I still want to do the typical intro that you do.
Oh yeah. We've got this.
It's
Anytime
good.
we have a guest, we want to make sure that everybody knows exactly who they are, just in case. So, Etho, I'm gonna put you on the spot to begin things off here, and just basically, if you would introduce yourself a little bit and kind of give your background on what it is you do in this content creation world.
All right. Well, I do the same thing as you guys. I make YouTube videos, mostly on Minecraft. I've been doing it for 13 years now.
Wow.
And just go by Etho's Lab on YouTube. And that's pretty much all there is to it.
There you go. Yeah, so we've a fellow hermit crafter. Once again, we've had a few on. And much like Azuma, Etho is a faceless character here on the show. So we got you on you're on the couch with us, Etho. So just settle in.
We found a way.
We've superimposed.
I like it this way because then I'm in your head, It's like,
yeah.
That's right.
Literally in our right next
I'm
to our
your
ears.
intrusive thoughts right now.
So you mentioned 13 years, which is longer than I've been doing it, longer than Skizz as well. In fact, I don't want to start this podcast off by immediately fanboying, but Etho, I will admit that you were one of the ones that I was watching when I first started playing Minecraft. And I've told the story about how I got started with Minecraft. It was me and my son, and I started watching YouTube videos because I didn't know how to play the game. And yours, of course, came up because at the time, your videos were the most prevalent on YouTube. I think you and Paul Soares and B-Dubs, you guys were killing it. And so your videos came across my feed as I was doing my Minecraft searches, and I started watching your Let's Play and kind of just seeing this style that you presented. It was just this very casual, Let's Play is the perfect term. You're just playing the game that you like playing and capturing it and putting it out there and explaining your thought process behind why you're doing things. And honestly, doing things I could have never thought of myself at the time. And I was just enthralled by it. I think if I go back and think about, who got me started, your name would be up there with B-Dubs and Doc and a few others, but I was definitely a heavy watcher. So it must feel a little bit strange to know, like, I'm sure you've heard that story multiple times having done this for so long.
We've heard that story. A lot of guests we've had on, their inspiration was Etho.
Was Etho, yeah.
And
I get that a lot, actually.
How does that make you feel? Like for me, I don't know. Like I would probably my head would grow so large I couldn't get out my front door. But how do you handle all that? Like that feels like a lot of, I don't know, not pressure necessarily, but it does seem like a lot of people will say your name. So that's gotta ring something upstairs for you, yeah.
Well, it makes me feel good, obviously. It's always nice to hear those things. I try to stay humble about it.
Is that difficult? I mean, a lot of people will attribute humbleness to your personality, your character.
That was actually in the whole affirmation thing. My thing with him is that if there's anybody on the planet that's got a lot of reason to strut, it's Etho. But he does anything but. The humility is palpable, right?
Yeah.
And that's very, very admirable. And I do want to hear a little bit more from you, Etho, in regards to, what do you do internally to stay grounded, right? Because you've done a fantastic job of it. It's amazing how many people can let this type of stuff go to their head. That's not something I've ever seen, I've ever witnessed from you. But then also on top of that, I want to hear a little bit about, if you are the influence to so many, who influenced you, right? In the beginning, when you were getting started, who is it that you were taking a peek at. But start us first, Etho. What do you do to stay so grounded?
Well, I find if you're humble and you kind of just accept the compliments without saying too much, sometimes people don't think you heard them, and then they praise you even more. They just keep becoming. No, a lot of my drive comes internally, right? So it's nice to hear praise from each other, but I'm my biggest critic, right? Like if I decide if I'm good or not, and that keeps me in check. I used to have, if you watch my older videos, I had more of an ego in the past, I think. And everybody obviously has an ego. But yeah, I was a little bit more competitive and stuff in the past when I first started. But I think you lose that with age too.
Interesting. You know who he reminds me of is Danny Carey, the drummer of Tool, because he's my favorite drummer in the world. But one of the things, one of the reasons he's like that is because he's very internal the way you are. He makes the assessment in regards to where he's at, and there's no amount of hype. And a lot of people think that he's the greatest in the world, and I happen to believe that he is one of the greatest in the world, but he doesn't think that, and he doesn't need to. He knows who he is, and he says, I'm not going to be complacent with where I'm at, and I'm always going to be always striving to improve as much. As soon as you get comfortable with the world thinking you're awesome, then that's when you slow down, and it seems in that. So Etho's reminding me a lot of somebody like Danny Carey. So in the beginning, Etho, when you first started getting started specifically with Minecraft, or maybe specifically with Minecraft YouTube stuff, did you have anybody that you were looking at, anybody you were influenced by?
Yeah, for sure. Like early YouTube, I watched Proton John and Azurblade. They're like original Let's Players, like the beginners of it. They just did Super.
You're not
Super Mario.
The original OG Let's Player that started this whole thing on YouTube.
I think he is.
Yeah. Most people will believe that. And I probably thought that as well. But it is interesting to hear that like you actually were inspired by those before you, and you're mentioning names I'm not familiar with.
I know. Yeah. I'm embarrassed. I don't know them either. Yeah,
probably because it was before our time. We started with you, and you started before that. So
it was a different scene back then. They would just like put music in the background of their videos, and just totally different. Totally different.
Wait, was there any editing, or was it just hit record and 30 minutes later you're done and that's your video?
That's amazing. Just raw.
But past like just general Let's Plays, the big one for me was CoStar. For sure.
Okay, CoStar I have heard of.
Because a lot of YouTubers at that point, they were more on the hyper end, more of the like the high energy ones, right? And then I thought like there's no way I could ever do this, right? And then I watched CoStar, and he had a very nice, more like story chilled feeling to his videos, and I was like, that's more like me, I think. And that kind of drove me to give it a second chance and try copy his style a little bit.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like, I don't think of your videos as this like hyper cut, over edited, style that you're kind of referencing there. It is more of just like a laid back, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's cozy. Like
cozy.
Like your videos to me have always just felt cozy. Like I can watch and like you let us inside your brain, because you do a really good job of like, as you're making decisions and building things up or making a contraption of sorts, you kind of like walk us through how your brain connected those dots for you. And I think that's really cool as a fellow Minecrafter to just understand how a person who's really good at Minecraft, which you are, thinks differently and can put pieces together. And you just, I think your style definitely, even today in the world of, TikTok and scrolling and what do they call it, popcorn brain and stuff, your videos still stay very grounded. And it's almost like I guess I'm going to ask you a question here. Have you felt the need over time to change your style because those trends were going that direction to more like, shorts, TikToks, and people wanting their quick dopamine hits and, those quick cuts and higher energy. Have you ever like felt the pull to change because of that? Or have you just always said, no, this is the way I'm doing it and it works. I'm just going to stay on course?
Oh, for sure. Like, even in the name, like Let's Play, that means I'm bringing you along with me in the ride kind of thing. And nowadays, like even with Minecraft videos, it feels like people are just showing things a lot more. And it's like you just take it in, right? But you don't really include yourself in the process. So it's just like it feeds that dopamine, but it doesn't give you much value. While a Let's Play is like it takes you and it makes you think and tries to get you to decide how you would make decisions and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you almost allow your audience to get more invested because they're doing it with you as far as they're concerned, not just being shown what you did, right?
Yeah. But that being said, like I'm no fool, and I realized I did need to change a little bit. So especially before Hermitcraft Season 7 started, I went through a big changing period. And then in Season 7 of Hermitcraft, I did a lot of experimenting with different things. And then I've kind of settled on what I like and what I don't like now. And it's much more cuts in my video, but I tried to not lose that original style I had. It's a little bit more fast-paced, more information being presented quickly, but still bringing you along with me and that kind of thing as much as I can.
Sounds like he sort of stepped up the cadence a little bit, but he kept that authentic Etho comfort. And I think I like what you guys are saying, and I'm the exact opposite. As you know, my videos are very hyper edited, very hyper cut or whatever. It took me a while to kind of find my voice, and I think if I had to unpack why that might be, I think it's okay for people to get inside for Etho to let people in his mind, and because it works nicely. Like he could actually look at something and be like, "This is what I think I'm going to do," and it's a fun ride. It works. I think if I tried to do that, you don't want to get inside this brain. So I have to edit. I have to edit around it. You know what I mean? My editing is sort of like it's to provide entertainment, but it's also to dance around the landmines that are all over the place in the mind. It would not be the same show. So I like what I'm hearing there. One thing I really, I like the I like how I hate saying this word because I struggle with the word itself. Anonymity. Am I saying?
Anonymity.
I don't even know if I said it right.
That's a hard one. That's
a hard word to say. I think I always mess it up, but I may have just crushed it, but I'm only going to say it the one time. So that's obviously something that's associated with Etho. And I think it's a huge part of your charm. One thing I wonder, you have a really nice and very, distinct voice. Now, have you ever been recognized by somebody who's like, you sound like Etho? Like, has that ever happened? Like just out in the public? Because I cannot name one other person I've ever met in my entire life that has this voice.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
For sure, at least once it's happened to me. And it was a little kid with his dad, and I was hanging out with them doing something. And just somehow he recognized me. He's like, I saw him whisper to his dad, "That's the guy I watch," And he's like, "Oh, really?" And then it kind of got discovered,
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I don't know if it's ever happened besides that one time, or at least where they mentioned it to me, where they knew.
Man.
Yeah, I wonder, like, if you're just out and about, you're like at the, cash register, checking out your groceries or whatever, and you say something, and if somebody else in line is like, I know that voice, and you never know, that they do, I've always wondered that too, because I out in public, other than like events that we go to where more people that are in our realm would be at, I've never gotten recognized just randomly out in public, and I've often wondered if there's people that actually did and just were afraid to come up to me or
but
whatever.
You have though. We both did.
Yeah, it did happen.
Yeah.
I've told this story, and then it actually just happened a few weeks
ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere, which is the most strange part.
That was crazy.
Yeah, we got recognized. And I think it was because it was me, Tango, and Skizz together.
And Zed.
And Zed, yeah. And so, yeah, we were literally in the middle of nowhere. Where
In the
like
middle of nowhere.
there was only one other like set of human beings around, and they recognized us.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And he approached, this guy approached us, and I have such a wild, like, neurotic brain that when this guy was approaching us with the speed he was, I start like looking at pockets. I'm looking for weapons. I'm doing all that. And I'm just like, I'm such a nut job, but I'm looking for all that, dude. And instead he was just like, hermits. And we were like, oh, okay. Yeah. And it was, and he was a really nice guy. And then he was like, went and got his daughters, and it was a cool moment, but yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Jeez. So Etho gets recognized just based on the voice. I love that. I love that it's happened. And I think you're right, Impulse. I think it's probably happened more times than he's aware
Probably,
of.
yeah. All right, well, let's go back, because a lot of times we do like to do origin stories of names.
Yeah.
And
it's got to be Ethernet port 0. Like that's got to be what I got to know. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I just got to say.
No, that's what everyone always thinks. It's not that.
So Etho's Labs, right? Etho's Lab.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
It's not like the most, I don't know. It's so back in the day, like early years in my internet gaming, I was a troll, right? And I would do this thing where I would play against other people using their own teams. Like,
Interesting.
I would copy their names and stuff, and that and I became known as like this copy troll, right? So then I eventually switched my name to Ursats, which means copy.
Okay.
And then it came a point where I needed to change my name again because I was trolling too hard.
No. Etho was a problem child. I didn't know this.
Yeah,
I'm so happy.
early years on YouTube in gaming, you know,
Okay.
everyone goes through that phase. I'm sure. I wasn't doing anything malicious, just
Of
goofy
course.
stuff. Right?
Oh yeah.
But I liked names that started with an E for some reason. So I started hunting for another name that started with an E, and I just looked through the dictionary and couldn't really find anything. And then it's like, what if I just add THO to the end of it? Like something simple that's unique, short.
Wow.
And that's pretty much all there is to it.
I think that's a good story.
Yeah.
He was like, it's not really a good story. Yes, it is.
And then the Ethos Lab came from, I used to make like mods for games, like programs for games. And someone in the community wanted me to host my programs on a website.
Okay.
So then they gave me a domain to post it on, and they're like, what do you want to call it? And I'm like, I don't know. And then they just said, I'm going to call it Ethos Lab.
And it stuck.
Wow.
And then it became.
And then I just used it for my YouTube. It's like, whatever.
I'll just make a YouTube channel. And then
I gotta think of something. I didn't make my YouTube planning for a lifetime career on the platform or anything.
Yeah, when you make a YouTube channel, I mean, how could you imagine that you're going to grow to millions of subscribers and it's going to last, over a decade?
Right.
And that's the name that you're kind of stuck with. You could have never imagined. I mean, when you first started doing YouTube, like what drove you to upload your first video, and what were your goals with starting YouTube in the first place? Do you remember?
Yeah, that's a bit of a question as well. Like, it's not just one thing. It was like a lot of different things. For one thing, I wanted to learn how to do video editing because I was planning on like programming and making games. And I realized at some point I'm going to need to make a game trailer when I put my game out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was like, I'm gonna just try out this YouTube thing and figure out how video editing works, like compression and all that kind of stuff, right? Just to get my foot into it. But also because, I was watching like Proton John, Azure Blade, those kind of people. I knew about Let's Plays and CoStar. Also, I just viewed it as a way to practice speaking because I'm not the most charismatic person. And I thought this would be a good way to force myself into one of those situations where you have to get better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it basically came down to I was watching at that point different Minecraft things, and I just made the boat dispenser in my world. Some of the viewers might know what that is, and I was like, this is actually kind of cool. I should post this and try to figure out how that works. And I did, and it kind of blew up.
Wow.
And that was my start.
Wow. That was wow. So are you saying that this journey made you charismatic? Because I personally think that Etho is very
You say that now,
charismatic.
just wait till this interview goes on. You'll be struggling here, Skizz, trying to get answers. It's helped a little bit.
It's helped a little bit. So you helped you find your voice a little bit. So you were going to be doing games. So your very first video that you uploaded was indeed a Minecraft video?
On my channel? No, it was like tech demos for games I was working on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I did a Harvest Moon playthrough because I'm a big fan of that game. And then I did Minecraft, I think. That was the order. And a lot of those old videos just got deleted.
So so your passion at the time was making games, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you think if YouTube never took off, that's where you would have ended up in a career as a game developer? Or I mean, where do you think you would have ended up if that boat video didn't blow up and you turned into what you are now?
Well, if I ever got good at it, yeah. Like if I'm retiring tomorrow, Impulse, I'm probably going to look into making games again.
Wow.
Okay.
How cool is
Yeah,
that?
that makes sense. I mean, like one of your big passions inside of Minecraft is making games. Look what you just made.
Frogger, dude.
Frogger in
Frogger,
Minecraft,
yeah.
and it's pretty epic, but you've been known to make a lot of unique mini games in Minecraft, and so it definitely you can feel that just by what you do inside of Minecraft, what your passions are almost outside of Minecraft, because Minecraft is one of those special games where you can it's a sandbox game, you can do anything you want. So like if we look at False, she's an artist, she went to like an art design school, and now in Minecraft she's using Minecraft to make art. Like everything she builds
To express
has
right?
artistry behind it, right? And so you can almost get to know a person's internal passions by watching how they play Minecraft.
I agree.
It's super interesting.
No,
I was mostly into programming,
Mhm.
and just more recently I've been trying to pay attention to like game design and that kind of stuff. Even like the whole note block thing and that I did in season 7 is because I wanted to learn a little bit about music theory.
Oh wow.
For like if I ever make my game, then I know a little bit about how to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, programming makes sense because a lot of people will attribute being good at Redstone to understanding programming and programming languages and stuff, like and/or gates and stuff like that. And obviously you leaned into that as well with discovering things. I mean, we can talk about probably the most used thing that you've invented, which is it's even got your name on it. It's so well known, the Etho hopper clock. Do you attribute coming up with that idea to make that clock because you had programming experience, or were you just tinkering around and something magical happened that day? What's the story behind that? I've always wanted to know this personally. Like how did you invent that? Because
it's a
my
good
brain,
question.
I look at it and I'm like, something just came out. Comparators just came out, right? So the day Comparatives came out, I would have never thought, if I just put that into a sticky piston and move a redstone block back and forth, it's going to make a clock, So how did that come about? I'm super curious.
It was shortly after the Redstone update in Minecraft, so I think that was 1.5, where we got all these new Redstone things out in the game, and I wanted a big project to like try learn how to use this stuff and try to do something with them. So that's when I did the Wilson project. It's like a Tamagotchi game or thing in Minecraft where you got to feed the guy and take care of it, that kind of thing. And as I was building that, I needed to make variables and like counters and things. So that was like my first application where the light would go to the right or to the left. And then I realized like I need a clock as well for the heart of Wilson, to like the game loop basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I already had these variables that were pretty similar to the hopper clock, and I just I wonder if I locked it and made it switch if it would work, and it did. And then I posted the tutorial on it, and It did poorly. That was like one of the last
That's so crazy.
tutorials I ever put out, because it's like, man, if this doesn't catch on, this part of YouTube is over.
Oh man.
It is interesting
But then
to see.
it was weird. It caught on like years later that it just kind of built up steam, and now like everyone uses it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. As more and more people, you know what? I think one of the things that helps is the fact that people refer to it as the Etho hopper clock.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So now when they search, they're specifically searching Etho, which is hopefully bringing them to your tutorial.
Yeah,
you
that's
know what I
cool.
mean? So,
Yeah, I owe my thanks to the Hermit Crafters for that. They just started doing it for some reason, and it caught on. So thank you guys.
So yeah, I mean that's a good point. Like 13 years, you were going well before Hermitcraft. So I mean, a lot of people in the community these days maybe haven't been around long enough to know that there's a big history before Hermitcraft on YouTube, and there was Mindcrack, who Hermitcraft was kind of formed to emulate in a way. But you were even doing things before you joined Mindcrack. You have your Let's Play world, which has it also been 13 years in that same world, or did you start that later?
It's been mostly that amount of time. I had an older world, and then when Minecraft officially released, I switched to a new world. And I've been in that one ever since.
In the same world ever since Minecraft officially released. So that's something that's super unique, and I think we should talk about a little bit, because a lot of content creators will, just to keep things fresh, start a new world from time to time. We call it seasons, you know. I mean, we're on season 10 of Hermitcraft. We've reset the world 10 times now. But you've stayed in the same world, and somehow Minecraft hasn't broken your world between updates, which is incredible.
Oh, it has. It has.
And you've managed to somehow bring it back to life.
Times.
Okay. So
it's been better lately, though.
So tell us about that. Like, how do you stay motivated in the same world after that long? Like, how do you still continue to come up with things you haven't done? How do you still find enjoyment out of seeing the same thing that you maybe built, 10 years ago? Like, what's your strategy there to keep that content fresh, not just from a content standpoint, but from a personal standpoint? Because I think this is forgotten too, is us as content creators. Yeah, we're making content, we're playing a game, and we're trying to be entertaining and provide some sort of value for the people that are watching. But also, we need to also internally feel good about what we're doing, and I think that's forgotten, because a lot of times burnout happens, and we can just get bored of doing the same thing. But somehow you've kept the same world for this long seemingly without getting bored. So maybe give us
some breaks here and there, but yeah.
One of the questions I had logged in my brain is, when you have, when there's something that you want to invent, when there's something that Etho wants to invent or Etho wants to build, can like step me through the process of your mind. And this is quite selfish of me, because I want to learn, because I struggle in this realm. You know what I mean? In fact, when I try to invent things, if you will, in creative, I'm like, well, I know what I want to do. So I start to build it. I'm like, and I run into snags or technical snags, and it's like, within seconds, I'm like, I don't care anymore. And I hate that about myself. Right. And some of the things that a lot of the things that you've built are colossally impressive. Run me through your process in regards to conceptualizing something and then realizing it, bringing it to an actual reality.
Yeah, it kind of depends what it is. Like, sometimes you have an end goal in mind, and other times you just have like a mechanic in the game about that's interesting, and you want to find an application for it. But generally, it helps to know more and more mechanics about the game, and then you have a bigger field to build off of. And then when you need to do something, you just take from one of those things and apply it the way you need it to.
Yeah. Toolbox.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my, instead of a wrench, I have an Etho hopper clock, and
See, I have a tool bag, but there's nothing in it. You know,
snacks.
Just snacks and a scumpus. Like that's all. There's nothing in there. But all right, so that actually makes sense. So I need to, like, when something that you said in there was, you use the word share, right? You want to do something, then you want to share it with people. So you're talking about your audience, obviously. And so That's a whole nother dynamic that I'm starting to wonder, like, I don't know. I think I need to watch my own videos some more, and because I don't know what I do. I don't know if I do that. I talk to the audience a lot. You know what I mean? Like I talked in regards to double tapping F5 and looking at the camera. Like I do a lot of that. But in terms of what I'm doing or when I'm building something, I guess I do kind of share it a little bit, right? I think at this point, people are very well aware of what Maslow's pyramid is. I've explained it, I think, in depth or whatever. But in terms of making the cool stuff, I just have to watch from afar. People like you and Etho, and I don't.
It's one of those things you learn and you get better at the more you do it too.
Yeah.
I got a question for you both. When you're addressing the audience or when you're making your videos, do you commonly refer to it as "we are going to do this," or do you say "I'm going to do this"? I've been thinking about this more lately, and I used to say, you know, I like want to bring them, because Etho was talking about bringing them on the journey with him.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about, oh man, I used to make a conscious effort to always say, we are going to go make this and we're going to do this and that kind of thing. And so that they felt like they were in it with me. But I think I kind of lost my way a little bit lately. And I'm more of like, okay, I'm going to go do this and you're going to watch me do this. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like that.
You're going to come watch me do this.
Yeah. Watch me.
I think I do
that's
both.
an ego thing taking over. But I'll start with you, Etho. Do you like, in your style, do you use the word "we" a lot, or do you just omit that and it's more about watch what I'm doing?
Oh, I definitely use "we," and you know, sometimes I get called out for it. You know that maybe I shouldn't do it, but I don't know. It's a let's play. They're involved with me, right?
Yeah.
I want them along with me.
Yeah, no, that
But
makes
I do,
total sense.
I do make one exception. If I ever like mess up or something or make a mistake, I always say "I."
Yeah.
In that case, because I don't want them along and feel responsible for the mess.
See, I would have done the opposite.
It's all on me. Then.
If I make a mistake, I blame my audience or my
So
chat
do I.
100%.
So do I. I blame them for things that they have nothing to do with. I will misplace items, and I'll double tap 5 and look at the camera, and I'll be like, "Where did you guys put my stuff?" You know.
You do the opposite. You just blame them for all the mistakes.
What about you,
like
Skizz? I guess this is one thing because it just clicked in my mind. I'm like trying to envision myself watching both your videos and remembering on my own if you use "we" or "I." Do you know?
I think I absolutely do both.
You do both.
I'm back and forth.
Okay.
I do a lot of I, and then I'll do things like, okay, so what we're gonna do now, and I do the "we," but I don't really think about it. I just whatever feels right at the time, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I think I'm more on board with like Etho's way of thinking, and that we're trying to take them along the journey with us. So try to make the audience feel included and feel like they're part of it. Because a lot of times I will ask my audience for ideas, or, you know, hey, what should we name this? Or you know, what do you guys think of this design? And I think in the world that we live in, sometimes that can come across as you don't have a lot of confidence in your own abilities. Like, why are you asking for others' input if you can't figure it out on your own? Or are you unsure if this looks good? Is that why you're asking? It can kind of come across as a lack of confidence, when really what I'm trying to do is make them feel like they have some sort of say, like they're part of it. You know what I mean? And so I think there is a balance there to kind of walk that line between, you know, having confidence in what you're doing. And like Etho said, I'm much like him. I'm my own biggest critic. But whenever comments come across that are hitting on the things that I've already kind of internalized and critiqued on my own, like that's when I start to get like, I don't want to read those comments anymore, you know, like bubbles up a little bit. So going from that, Etho, like, do you read a lot of your comments, and like what kind of effect do comments, if you do read them, what kind of effect do they have on you mentally, if any?
Oh, I read every one of my comments pretty much. They feed me. They keep me going. I love them. Honestly, I think it's my favorite thing about YouTube is just reading the comments after a video.
Really?
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it.
You guys are all the same. Like, I think it's great. I really do. I think it's great. I have been actively trying to, I have this running joke going on, Etho, where if I release a video, And let's just, and I'm just going to use easy numbers here. If I release a video and it gets 100 comments, right? I'm just going to do round numbers. If I release a video and it gets 100 comments, and if Impulse releases a video and it gets 500 comments, I will read like 20 to 30 comments. Impulse will read 600. He'll read all his 500 and all my 100. Right? Yeah. And so
I send Skizz like the cliff notes of his comment section afterwards, so that he doesn't. I was like, okay, so here's your comment section believes you're doing a good job, but maybe in this aspect you could evolve a little bit. No,
are they hurting you, Skizz? Are they making fun of you? What's going on?
No,
here?
not at all. No, actually, this is going to sound weird. It's not, I mean, everybody who's on YouTube has gotten hate to some level, and it's normal to be affected by it. Impulse and I have had enough talks for me to realize there's something genuinely different or wrong about me, is that they have no effect. They have no effect. The hate that I get that does exist out there, it means nothing to me, nothing at all. Nothing. Well, in the same light, people say a lot of really nice things. So I am doing a better job reading a lot of these comments, and people say really nice things too. And believe it or not, that does feel good, but even that has a limited effect. Because it is the people, I have a very, very small amount of people in my life who I really care what they think about me. And so to that end, comments aren't really going to do it. Sometimes I will, like what you were saying, Impulse. Sometimes if I'm building something, I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm kind of stuck. Like, what do you guys think? Leave something in the comment, because I'm kind of thinking there might be a good idea here. And I will go and they always deliver. There's just like such great ideas out there, you know, and you can really do that stuff. I am trying to read more recently, because what I'm seeing a trend of now is a lot of people who are telling me the good things that are happening in their lives that's related to either the podcast or to the videos I do, or whatever, how my videos help them in their lives. And I'm not going to lie, that feels really good. You know what I mean? When the videos itself, whether they're going through something difficult and they haven't, I get a lot of, I lost so-and-so, and your videos are the only thing that make me laugh anymore. And that makes me sad, because, time will heal it or whatever. But to know that they're getting that degree of pleasure or a much needed distraction, I see those comments, and they really, I would be lying to you right now if I said that didn't feel good, because that feels like, I feel like $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. But that wasn't in the beginning. It wasn't that. It was either you're good at this or you're really bad at this. And it was just that over and over again. And it means nothing to me. You know what I mean? But as soon as it turned real, I started paying a lot more attention.
Yeah. So your comment section, how do they beat you up a lot, Etho? You ever got ego bruising from reading comments or anything?
If anything, they build up my ego more than it should be. But I have a pretty nice comment section.
That's awesome.
I also like block a lot of people that don't need to be there, you know. But so I've kind of curated it over time too, that only the good apples are kind of around. Not that I don't accept criticism or anything like that, but anybody that's just outright abusive, they're gone. You know?
Like
where all the bots are gone, and
that's become like an art of reading comments. I think that I've had to learn over time is when is somebody being genuinely constructive, and when are they just being a jerk?
Yep.
And if they're just being a jerk, I'm pretty quick now to just hide user from channel, which I think is a shadow ban, right? Like I don't even think they know. So like they'll continue to come back to your videos and like leave hate, and you'll never see it, which is great. And they have no idea they were shadow banned.
That's pretty
as far
funny,
as I know.
actually.
Unless they're just like, why is nobody responding to my hate? I must be shadow banned.
Yeah,
right.
This is all I have in the world is hate.
Right. But no, I think that's a good thing. That it can kind of keep you grounded sometimes as well. Like just seeing that there is room for improvement. At least that's the way I always think. Like I'm always looking to figure out how to improve myself. And so, yes, I'm a little hypersensitive to the more negative comments than the positive ones, because I'm actually looking for constructive criticism. And so I'm looking for, okay, this person thinks that, maybe I waffled on this segment too long and it got boring. Oh, they're absolutely right. I look in my editor and I didn't make a single cut for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm doing too much show and tell and not enough keeping them with me. I'm always looking to find myself. And you just said like you also went through a bit of a change in season 7 or right before season 7, and trying to like keep what you were doing like fresh, but it's more of a growth thing is the way I look at it. Like I like improving, and it sounds like Etho, you're kind of the same way. If I'm not
Very
mistaken.
similar, yeah. I think like one of our best ways of improving as YouTubers is to actually look at the comments, get a vibe for it, see what people are thinking and saying, because that's your feedback on what your actions, right? And if you don't take that in, you'll never learn.
Yeah, it's kind of like our viewers, in a way, are our boss, right? They're our employer, right? Like they need to be happy with the work we're doing in order to keep paying our bills, basically, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you worked for a company and you had a boss that you never once had what we called in the industry one-on-one with, to where your boss could give you constructive criticism or feedback on how you're doing as an employee, then you may not even know you're doing a bad job and they're not happy with you until you're fired, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of think of like the way you put that, it's kind of like having that session with your boss of like, hey boss, how's my work? Am I doing everything you want from me? You know, and it's kind of like that with the viewers. That's how I look at it too.
You know,
I think
no, go ahead, Etho.
I think a good example is it's like we're a bus driver and there's a bunch of rowdy kids in the back yelling things at us. You know, we're the one in the driver's seat. We take control, but you know, if a kid is saying, I gotta vomit, I might let them off, you know.
I love that analogy so much more than mine. You just absolutely crushed that.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I like the fact that you are in the driver's seat. I feel similar, and I'm realizing now there will be times, because I'm trying to make my Minecraft better. I am actively trying to. I'm very, it's admittedly terrible at Minecraft. I just cannot see what people see, and my dedication to understanding Redstone, it leaves much to be desired. So my Minecrafting is abysmal, but I would like to believe that my YouTubing is pretty good. And that you said earlier, Impulse, that you said that, you know, it reveals your passions and stuff, right? Well, if you go back to when I was younger, I wanted to be in acting. I wanted to be an editor. I wanted to be in performance the whole time. My whole life, I wanted to be in some sort of form of performance. And to me, that comes with my editing. I use music as a big part of my driver. I use the montages, and I use the cutting for specific, comedic moments. And I do this. That's the part I'm always trying to get better at. So I found myself trying to do teeny little clever things. And I will sometimes go to the comment section just to see if anybody caught it. And I have I'm batting 1,000. Somebody is whenever I do something like that, somebody has caught on to it and has commented like, "Oh, I see what you did here." And they talk about like it's like a little Easter egg, and they catch it every time, and it's very impressive. So
doesn't that make you feel good when they break it down to and explain why it's so good?
Yes,
just eat that up.
Yes, he gets it, dude. In our last podcast, Impulse was telling a story, because I edit our podcast. Impulse was telling a story about a Corvette that he drove into the house, and he was a young kid when this happened.
I drove it through the wall of the garage.
Yeah, he drove it through the wall of the garage, right? And anyways, when he's telling this story, he said it was his uncle's 19. What was the year? Do you remember?
1984.
1980.
I don't know. It was
something.
Corvette Stingray Corvette.
Corvette Stingray. Anyways, he says it, and as he says that, Etho, I bring up on the screen a red Corvette. Right. So the audience can actually, there's something supplementing the story, and it's up there for about 4 or 5 seconds. And I said, well, what color was it? And he goes, it was blue. And as soon as he said the word blue, it turns blue. Right. It turns into a blue Corvette. Right. Yeah. Well, I was like, this is kind of a fun little moment, but I'm curious if I'm going to get a comment in regards to that editing, because obviously it was very deliberate. It wasn't like I accidentally put a red Corvette up there and then it became blue. It was very deliberate. And there was a comment specifically like the Corvette red to blue, 10 out of 10.
I feel like when you asked the question of what color it was, you are already envisioning.
I'm always editing as we're doing these. Yeah.
That's the only reason you asked the question, was so that you could flip the color on screen.
That's right. I asked the question so I could flip the color on screen. That's exactly what it was. Funny. And what's crazy is, like, even the beginning of this, this one here, I said, "Oh snappers, we got Etho," and I point because I know I'm going to have it pop up as soon as I point at the wall, right? So so Etho just nailed it. Like, when you have a plan and they articulate in the comment section, like, I know what you did here. It feels very, very satisfying. Like maybe I'm good at this. You know, like maybe I actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So what was the point for you, Etho, when you had that realization that maybe I'm good at this?
Good question.
I'm still not quite there yet.
Oh boy, that's why he's Danny
Humble.
Carey. That's why he's
Mr.
Danny
Humble.
Carey, dude. I'm telling you.
No, it's funny. It's like, for anything I could have done as a job, like, this isn't what I would consider myself naturally talented at. So it's always been a struggle for me making videos, and even to this day, I still am challenged a bit by it. But obviously, I got a track record, so it helps.
Do you have any like friends or family that is just still in awe of the fact that this is your life?
I get it. It comes up quite often, yeah.
Does it? Yeah. I mean, I think as content creators, and I think it's just because this is such a new thing, right? Like being able to, you know, provide for your family and stuff, or provide for yourself, have a roof over your head and meals and stuff by making videos that you put on YouTube is still just unfathomable for most people outside of this realm.
Yeah.
And so like anyone that asks you, like, I get this question a lot, and I'm almost wanting to start lying. But like you go to get your hair cut, and they're cutting your hair, and so what do you do for a living? You know, and it's just like, oh, I make videos for YouTube, and it's just a weird conversation.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm fine with it, and I still have an actual like other career right now. For now, I'm gonna start saying for now because TikTok, I gotta get out of there.
Any day, Skizz, any day.
Let's go.
Any day. In fact, somebody asked me the other day about this part of my life, right? And it was somebody I'd met who were new, and they were younger. They were like late 20s, and they had asked, and when they found out, when I just gave them some fundamentals, they were absolutely blown away, and they thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. So if on the outside, when people ask me, if I'm like, they ask me, why did you have to go over here? And I'm like, well, I have kind of a side gig right now. And I explain it. They're like, what? Like, because like you said, it makes no sense, but I'm like, fine. I'm like, yeah, there's a huge market out there for that. That's it. Like, I just leave it at that. I'm like, there's a huge market out there, and I enjoy it. And then they're fine with it.
Do you have a story that you give to people that ask what you do, Etho, or do you tell them?
I usually just tell them I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And then
try to move on as fast as you can, or
Yeah.
or
No,
do
I
you go
don't
into
find it-
detail?
I actually don't find, like, a lot of people say they have weird conversations with it. I've never really had a weird conversation when I told someone what I do. They're more curious, like, how it all works and everything, and then you just explain it, and it's kind of done then, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I've had to explain to my grandma probably 10 times how it is that I actually make money from this.
Yeah, I make the joke. My mom still calls me Skittles Man, so it's normal, right?
My
But
parents still tell everybody that my job is to play Minecraft.
yeah, I don't. That's not right. Come on, guys.
So
It's part of the job, but it's not the whole job.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's not the whole job at all, and that's actually. I think I've made it pretty apparent it's not the whole job at all. That's, Etho, I guess I'm not terribly surprised to hear you say that you're still working on it in regards to, feeling like you're good at this, because that you really are. It is healthy. I don't want to change you because it's very healthy to be that way, right? That's what helps. That's what keeps people from getting stagnant. I think one of the things I said to Impulse in a past podcast was nothing is more threatening to progress than comfort. And as soon as you are comfortable, you get stagnant. Well, with that being said, what I don't want to say this because now I'm just going to fit into the same fanboy over. I don't fanboy over you, Etho.
Something big's coming.
I don't fanboy over you, but it's because I don't fanboy over anybody. But I have to acknowledge the fact that I might be full of crap right now, because I always feel better when Etho is part of the discussion in Minecraft. I don't know what it is. It actually could just be your voice. I really enjoy just the timbre of your voice. I really do. I like it. And anytime I'm having a conversation with Etho, or I'm just listening to him have a conversation with somebody else in my proximity or whatever, all of a sudden my Minecraftiness feels a little bit more complete for some reason, and I don't know why that is. So did you have your voice early on? Meaning this, like, do you sound now the way you did in your first videos, or have you kind of found your voice? Because we've talked about this too. If I go back to my first videos, I can't stand it. It's the worst thing in the world. And I feel like what I'm delivering now I've just sort of found where I need to be. Did you find yourself Etho, and it changed, or have you just kind of this has been Etho from the beginning?
My early videos sound nothing like me. Like the manner of speaking, the volume, all of that is completely different.
Wow.
It slowly developed over time to what it is today. This is like my regular, normal, everyday speaking, right? But at the beginning of my YouTube is like, I found it very awkward talking alone in a room. For one thing, you don't have anybody to bounce off of.
Yep.
So it's a very different, it's like a skill you got to learn over time.
Yep.
For one thing. But also I had my settings way off at the beginning. So I basically did ASMR before it was a thing. I was whispering into my microphone.
We thought he was the OG inventor of Minecraft Let's Plays. He's actually the inventor of ASMR. I like that.
That is outstanding. I love that.
You can hear all my mouth noises and everything.
Be careful, Etho, because we had Jimmy on the show. And we talked about one of his early videos, and it went from 500 views to like 50,000 in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
like,
I wonder what. Yeah.
So just by talking about it, so maybe careful. They're gonna start digging for your ASMR videos now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, everybody watch the first season of Etho Plays Minecraft. Great. No.
Do it.
He's like, yeah, let's get it trending.
Let's do
go.
it. I would love that.
Let's
Let's blow it up.
Since we're talking about your voice and finding your voice and what it was back then, I think one thing that I bring up a lot of times when people start talking about YouTuber voice, right, which is a common thing. When we hit record, we change the timbre of our voice, maybe get a little more energetic. In some cases, we almost put on a full-blown different character, right, than who we typically are. But one thing I say a lot is, out of like all the hermits, I think, Etho, you have the least amount of YouTuber voice. I'm doing air quotes. It's almost like there is not much difference between you, like if I was just chatting with you in a Hermitcraft meeting, or if we were on camera inside of on the server and recording a bit. Is that intentional, or is just putting on a voice something that it doesn't interest you, or like what is it about that? Or do you feel like you actually have a YouTuber voice and it's just not that noticeable?
Well, I definitely do. Like in the intros, it's definitely more noticeable there. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have a bit of a YouTuber voice. Like, when you're hanging out on the server and then you find out someone's recording, it kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually
I think I do a little bit as well.
It's almost important to change the voice a little bit when you are like understanding that, oh, this is going to make a vid. Someone's either they're streaming or it's going to make a video, like in their video, like maybe I should at least turn it on a little bit. But I would say, even though you do say that you have a bit of a YouTuber voice, I'd say it's probably least pronounced out of most of the hermits.
He seems the most comfortable with just his natural. Yeah, I agree.
I think you just turn the range up, like instead of being pretty flat, you go higher and lower and stuff, right? Like,
a little bit more
become
dynamic.
more dynamic. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, it's funny because when I'm not, I think my YouTube voice is different than my normal voice, but I think you can I will use my YouTube voice in the normal world sometimes when I'm excited about something, right? It's just, so really YouTube is an excited version of Skizz. That's all it really is, right? But like you said, Impulse, when I'm just disseminating information, let's say, for example, like I'm about to do a bit with somebody and I'm going to give them a quick briefing on the segment we're about to record. I am so boring because this is information only. You know what I mean? I'm like, so this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I kind of lay it out like a director. I'm like, okay, you ready? And then boom, I'm in this character and I'm like, that's got to be jarring and probably maybe obnoxious, but I think I'm too boring when I'm not in that. I
do it on stream all the time, where I'll be in just my normal stream casual chatty voice, which, I don't think you can. I don't know if I've met any streamer that puts on a voice for an entire stream, you know.
Geez.
So, you know, that's just me. It's just the same way we are with the podcast. You know, it's just my regular person voice. But then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to record this clip, and the second I hit record, my voice completely kind of changes in a way, and I kind of get made fun of. You know, at least that's the way I see it in chat. Like, oh, here comes a YouTuber voice, and he goes up 5 octaves and talks 10 times faster, and blah blah blah.
I don't think they're making fun of you, bro. I think it's endearing.
It's just just like it's kind of a thing. But I never really felt that with Etho. Like his on-camera, off-camera voice always felt pretty similar to me. So that's why I wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, that's good.
But I mean, there is like an authenticity to you in the way that you make your content, and this can go back even to something as little as not making thumbnails for your videos.
Yeah,
right. Like that is it's kind of an endearing thing that's became a thing. Was that intentional? Was that because you couldn't be bothered? Was that, I mean, what is it behind that?
I'm gonna pump the brakes on you for a second.
Okay,
I want to hear this too, and there's so much more. I want to talk about Kakashi. And how Naruto found its way into the Etho world. I want to talk about where Etho thinks Minecraft is going. I want to talk about the thumbnails, that he won't change his skin. And Etho, we're gonna do a part 2.
Wait. We're gonna. It sounds like
I'm cutting us off.
It sounds like we're about to run him
Is
over.
it that
with
time already?
I'm gonna fabricate a cliffhanger right now, dude. And we're gonna. I have questions.
Wait, no, you're giving him way too much time. Now he's gonna have a break to think of excuses.
Well, that's okay though. It's Etho. I'm starting to fanboy, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't fanboy over anybody. But okay, but Etho, you're the best. Can you stick around for one more installment of this, buddy?
Let's do it.
Oh,
Nice.
I love it. All right.
Even though you warned him everything you're gonna grill him on, he's gonna still stick around.
Yeah, I know. What a champion, dude.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna take a small break, and we'll be back. And for everybody who's listening or watching, see you next week.